Hello, welcome back to the channel and to episode 6 of my weekly Wedge series. Now in this week's episode we are going to be talking about data. I have to be honest, when I'm away from the golf course in my workplace or in my day-to-day life, data isn't something that really appeals to me. I'm not really somebody with a data mind, and to be honest, I just really am not interested in numbers. However, when it comes to golf, data is something that definitely gets my attention. If you have been following this channel for a while, then you'll know that I am an average user of ShotScope products, and one product I have been using for the last year to track my on-course performance is my ShotScope X5 golf watch. Basically, I wear this on my wrist, I play my rounds of golf, and it tracks my performance data automatically and then gives me access to over 100 tour level statistics about my game. What I thought I would do in this video is take you on a tour of the ShotScope dashboard on my computer, and in particular focus on how we can analyze my performance on a specific golf course. And in this example, I'm going to use my home course. So in particular, I'll be looking at my home course of Dunfermline Golf Club and analysing how I have played this course over the last year. I'll be able to see things like my average score to par, and I can compare this with previous years, but I'll also be able to see how well I play the front nine on the course as well as the back nine, and I can get a breakdown of my performance for the par 3 holes, par 4 holes and par 5s. But even better than that, I can actually look at benchmarking, so I can compare my performance with similar handicap groups. As well as that, one of the other benefits of this handy tool within the dashboard when we're analysing courses is we can look at my individual performance for each individual hole on the course. Now, if you're interested in tracking your own golf performance data and getting access to statistics like you see in this video, then any of the ShotScope performance tracking devices such as the X5 golf watch or even the H4 handheld will allow you to do that. And I've put a link to those devices in the description below, where you'll also find a handy 15% discount code, and I'll drop that in the comments area as well. But anyway, let's take a closer look at how well I play my home course of Dunfermline Golf Club.
Now on screen you'll see I have logged into my ShotScope dashboard, and as I mentioned a second ago, if you want access to this kind of data you can get that through any of the ShotScope performance tracking devices. Now I am going to show you quickly some of the statistics you can get about your general performance, and then what we're going to do is we're going to jump in and I'm going to show you how I perform on my home course. So first of all, I'm going to change the time frame to 2023 because there's a much bigger data sample here. You'll see there are lots of rounds displayed. And then I'm going to come across to this scoring statistics area. So this lets you see for your selected round, in this column here for your round, how you performed to par. And then in the next column you can see your average for the season, and you can also compare to the previous year. And I find this really useful because I knew last year I played better than 2022 on average, but I didn't really have that data to back it up without coming into here and taking a look. And actually, in terms of my overall scoring for the season, it was almost, 3.4 strokes better than 2021. So there's a huge amount of data here, and I have access to this in the ShotScope dashboard. Now what we can also do is we can break our rounds down, so we can look at this currently selected round for the front nine and back nine, and then we can see how well I've played the par 3s, par 4s and 5s on average. And then we've got this information for the entire season, and again we can compare this with 2022. But where I think there's real value in this is you can use handicap benchmarking and strokes gained to try and work out where you're gaining or losing score against other golfers of a similar handicap or better. So I'm going to change handicap benchmark to 5 because as a 7 handicapper I want to compare strokes gained against a better golfer, so the 5 handicap group is the next group up. And you'll see here I can compare my season average for strokes gained for this round or for the season against the previous year, and this is comparing it against strokes gained with a 5 handicapper. So for example, my overall average for the season, I was gaining 0.2 strokes, whereas the previous year I was actually losing almost 2.5 strokes against a 5 handicapper. I can see here on the front nine, for example, I'm losing 0.2 strokes against a 5 handicapper, but that is a big improvement on the previous year. But on the back nine, I'm actually gaining strokes on a 5 handicapper, whereas previously I was losing quite a lot. So there's a big difference here. In terms of how I perform on certain types of holes, It's quite obvious here that I was gaining very, very, very little on a par 3, but I was making pretty good gains on the par 4s, but the par 5s are where 5 handicappers tend to score better than me. So I think this kind of scoring statistics is useful to know about, but there is even more data available as we scroll down. So I can see my strokes gained for my round, my season, or the previous year, but for the individual categories within my game. So for example, for my season last year, against a 5 handicapper, I was losing strokes off of the tee, losing strokes with an approach, gaining quite a lot of strokes here for short game. So my short game is a part of my game that's the best, and that makes sense to me seeing these kind of numbers. But I was losing almost a stroke in terms of putting. Now it might seem like that's quite a big loss, but if I compare it with 2022, 0.94 in terms of putting, in 2022 was 1.72. So there was quite a big loss in 22, but actually last season there was an improvement, although I was still losing strokes against a 5 handicapper. We can also compare this kind of data here, so I can look at my average driving distance for the current season, or last season, 2023, was 222 on average off the tee, and the year before, 228 in 2022. So slight difference there in my average driving distance, but it could be down to my club choice. Maybe I used more 3 woods off the tee last year, for example. Where I was gaining though in terms of fairways and regulation, I gained 5% last year compared to 2022, and importantly greens and regulation, a big jump of 5% there as well. So hitting more fairways and hitting more greens. Also you can see here an over a 10, there was 11% gain there in terms of scrambling. That's probably why my short game was so good last year, and I averaged 2 putts better. So although I'm losing strokes in terms of putting against a 5 handicapper, I actually did improve last season, but I would want to make a target for this season even lower. So that's how I compare against a 5 handicapper on the golf course in general. But what I want to now look at is how I actually perform on my home course.
Now, hopefully you are enjoying this video so far. If you are, make sure you hit that like button and feel free to drop a comment below to let me know about the kind of data you are interested in or think would be useful about your game. If you already track your data, what kind of applications do you use to do so? Do you write it down with a pen and paper? Do you track it in an app like Golf Shot? Or do you use ShotScope products yourself? I'd be really interested to know, so let me know in the comments area below. Now let's get back to the video where I'll take a closer look at how I perform on specific holes on my home course.
So I'm going to make sure up here I select my home course. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to click on course analysis. And this is incredibly valuable because it allows me to see how I perform on my course on average on different holes. I'm going to once again just change the date range to 2023. You'll see you can choose the different tees here. I'm just going to leave it as yellow because that's the one I play most often. I'm still going to benchmark against a 5 handicapper, but I'm going to set this to complete rounds only. So this is going to look at my full 18 holes. Now if I scroll down, you'll see it's taking it against 5 rounds. My average score for this year was 77.6 on my home course, which gained me against a 5 handicapper 0.4 strokes. Now what I can do from here is I can start to look at how I play each hole. So let's say for example, let's go to a hole that I know I struggle with. So I struggle with the 13th hole at my course, and if I choose this one here, you will see that my average on the 13th is 3.6. I can see clearly I am losing strokes here, and in strokes gained ranked, it's ranked as 4, so it's the 4th most difficult for me. If we jump to another hole, let's take a look at, for example, let's find a strokes gained rank 1. We have one down here. So the 6th hole, I am actually losing almost half a stroke, an average 5 on this par 4 6th, and I know I struggle with this hole because I very seldom hit the green and usually I'm trying to scramble to make par. Now you'll see if I scroll down I can actually see how I perform on this hole. So I'm ranking as strokes gained 1, as in this is the worst hole for me in terms of strokes gained, but I can actually see here my average is 5. I can look at the rounds that I've played and you'll see I made 5, 5, 6, 5, and I did make 1 par. And then we get this breakdown here. So 20% pars, 60% bogeys, and 20% double bogeys, which isn't great. Scroll down here, I can see where the problem might be coming from. So I'm actually hitting 80% of the fairways of these 5 rounds. I've hit it 4 times and I've missed left once in the rough. So what is going on here? Well, if we look here in terms of approaches, first of all, my average proximity is 66 foot away, which is really quite far. I missed 20% right, 40% I'm hitting the green, but 40% I am landing short. And in terms of strokes gained, I'm losing strokes gained with my approach. If we scroll down, we can then see that actually in terms of short game, I'm doing not too bad. So I am getting up and down now and again. But where the problem lies is around putting, because I'm 2 putting 60% of the time, but I'm 3 putting 40% of the time. My average is 2.5 putts per green in regulation, and the average distance of my first putt is 30 foot. So quite simply, I am either trying to scramble from missing the green short, or when I'm hitting the green, I'm just not finding the right portion and not getting close enough to the pin to leave me a simple chance of maybe making a birdie or 2 putts for par. And more often than not, I am making 2 putts, but they're probably going to be for a bogey or potentially 3 putting for worse, and I'm losing 0.45 strokes against a 5 handicapper. One last thing to show you, if I go to shots plotted, this allows you to see where your tee shots are, and I can see pretty much most times I'm hitting a 5 iron, because my tactic for this hole is to lay up here and try and find the fairway, but actually that's leaving me quite a lot of approach shots down, which are probably 6-7 irons. And if I change approach shots here, I can see that this is where my approach shots are landing. So I'm taking a 6 iron and an 8 iron, 9 iron, 7 iron. They're all pretty much landing in this short section of here. So short or right. You can see on this hole, there's no danger here. There's no danger here, no danger here. If I want to be scoring better on this hole, I need to be finding this green with my approach. And one method for that might actually be to think about taking a wood or a driver off of the tee to try and land down here, which will hopefully just leave a little wedge in to the green. So as you can see, if we go back, we can also take the easier holes. So I can see strokes gained ranked 17 here on this one. So my average on this hole is 4.2. I'm gaining strokes. Again, I can scroll down, take a look at this data. Lots more pars here, just the one bogey on this hole. So 1 bogey, lots of pars. I've not made birdies, but generally I'm playing this hole pretty well. Even though I'm finding the rough here, I seem to be getting away with it. My 1 putt percentage is pretty good here. 2 putts pretty good, no 3 putts. So the chances are on this hole, which is the 10th, I am, let's have a look at shots plotted. I'm taking the driver, but I'm getting far enough up, which means I'm hitting an approach shot in with usually 8, 9 iron, even a 54 on this occasion, finding the green, and on average 2 putting from this area. So playing this hole pretty well on average.
So there you have it, a wealth of information that allows me to make better decisions about how I play my own home course. What I tend to do, if I'm honest, is just go out and play golf on my course, use the same clubs, hit the same shots, put myself in the same sort of positions, because you can get quite used to it and quite complacent. But having access to this level of data about how you play a golf course can really help you to make better, more informed decisions and hopefully perform better. Now that I've gathered all of this data, what I want to do is to start building a better strategy for playing my home course. And one of the other tools that ShotScope provide you with, if you are a ShotScope user, is their My Strategy tool. This essentially allows you to look at any golf course in the world that is mapped in the system, so there are over 36,000 courses, and basically build a strategy based off of your performance data. And that's what I'm going to be doing for my home course in next week's video. So if you're interested in seeing how I can take my existing performance data and build a brand new strategy to hopefully score even better around my home course, make sure you tune into next week's video. And if you want to be reminded about that one and you've not done so already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. Depending on when you're watching this video, that video may already be released and you'll be able to view it on screen just now.